Today we're talking about how to get your admin staff to stick with you.
Hi, my name is Mark Bentz, and I'm the owner of one of the largest multidisciplinary clinics in Canada. I started the Virtual CEO because I wanted to take clinic owners from overworked, underpaid, to living life on your terms and a clinic that is extremely profitable.
Turnover's a bitch, isn't it? It's brutal. Especially people that have been with you maybe for a year, 2 years. It's hard. It's so hard. I mean, in this environment right now too, it's hard finding people. So it really is important. You got to pay attention to what I'm talking about right now. Is getting the people in the position is crucial. So let's get into it. Number one, when you bring someone on board, figure out where they want to grow to. And that means you got to invest in them, right? So what do they really want? So you might say, well, Mark, that's ridiculous. I need someone to answer my phones. Well, I get it. You need someone to answer their phones. So yeah, they need to be able to answer the phones. They need to be damn good at answering your phones. But additionally, you might want to be asking questions. What else would you like to do in the company? And they might go, oh, well, I've always wanted to learn about, recently this happened, backlinking and SEO and things with the website. So it's like, okay, that's cool. So then how can you get them to be a part of that? So maybe you get them to do a bit of backlinking, right? That's going to turn them on. They're going to go, wow, man, I learned something. Train them in it, evaluate them in it. If they're good at it, they can keep doing it. Maybe they want to do callbacks, right? Maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe you should be the one doing the callbacks. Whatever it is, you've got to ask them the question. Like, how do you want to grow in the company? Maybe they want to be off the front desk and doing stuff in the background. And you might say, well, Mark, I can't afford that. I've got 4 people in my clinic. That's all I've got. Okay, that's fair. But maybe you can allocate 4 hours a week to that. Don't know. You got to ask yourself these questions, because just bringing on people and not paying attention to where they want to go will create turnover, especially in these entry-level positions like working at the front desk, especially if you can't afford to pay them a decent wage. So you got to think about that, right? That's why if you can invest in them and they can do other things, then you can bump up their wage, because potentially you were paying other people to do those things. But that is going to create a very healthy relationship between you and that person. They're going to feel engaged. They're going to feel valued. You're paying them some more. They're learning. You can imagine that person going to stick with you, right? They see the future. But don't get in the trap of just like, oh, away you go and pay no attention. I assure you that's a quick, letter of resignation. 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, a year, who knows? They'll just move on. So pay attention, make sure they feel supported. Make sure they feel heard and invested in. Number 2, support. It ties into number 1, of course, but support also is you're paying attention, you're listening to them, you're figuring out, hey, how is everybody being treated? I mean, support's kind of, I guess, a long culture too. You could use that word. But I've had therapists talk to my admin staff like they're some sort of slaves to them. And it's ridiculous. Like, you can't put up with that. And therapists can get so high and mighty thinking that, oh, I'm paying rent and he or she should do what I say when I need it, and end of question. And that's insane. Like, it's insane. And you gotta get to that therapist. You gotta say, listen, that's not something we're continuing. First, of course, ask, why did that happen? There might be justifiable background reasons on why that therapist said that to the admin staff, because maybe that person forgot to book an appointment last week and that resulted in a lost appointment. Who knows? There's always a long history. So you got to be willing to get into the history, but that's part of supporting your team. Because if the admin person doesn't feel supported and all they feel like is they're basically an admin slave to therapists, and basically then they're your slave, it ain't gonna last long. Very few people like the slave relationship. Very few. It's just the fact of life. People want to know they're valued. People want to know that, hey, they can come to work and feel like they're a part of the team. So definitely, number 2, pay attention to that support. Really, really important. Number 3, get them to own the position. And it's so important. When they take ownership of the position, your life becomes so much easier. Their life becomes so much better. You're not going to micromanage them. Of course, evaluate them to make sure they can own it. But what it'll do is they have the independence. They're going to feel so much better about that role. And that is very fulfilling. But if you're always the last person in line and you're always going to run in there and solve their problems, they don't feel very good about their position, deep down. They may like the fact that you run in all the time and solve the problems, but deep down, people want ownership. People want to go, you know what? This is what I'm doing. I'm making the place, the clinic, a better place. And that comes through ownership. So very important. Those are the 3 things that I'm focusing on. And it's completely changed the way this business is run. I mean, I pay attention to things, but I'm not running around and doing all these things I used to. And you might say, Mark, I only got 4 people in my clinic. That's cool. That's totally fine. You can do it with 4 people. Start with 4. You'd be amazed when you follow these 3 things. 4 can turn to 8. Be amazed. You'll incrementally grow your base. You'll have therapists join you. You'll have more admin staff join you. You'll have a more fulfilled group of people at your practice, which ultimately takes the stress off you and gives you what you want. You want a practice. You want the clinic that has people who own their positions. Thanks, guys. Get out there and take action. See you in the next video.